you know, problems people have that aren't addressed by the system, or how the system might grow, how the system changes over time. You know, just as dance movement has changed over time, and how different concepts have entered through, you know, as Graham, if you think about the evolution of Graham technique, it is very different from what it was in the 30s. And notators were there, and they watched as Martha made discoveries in class that then were part of the dance. You know, it's like then suddenly a contraction, you know, contraction started just moving the hips towards the shoulders. There wasn't this lifting, there wasn't the roll the pelvis, there wasn't the high, middle, low contraction. It was just when it started. Things evolved, and our notation system evolved along with the need to write certain things.
Can I? Go ahead.
No,
you had some.
no, this is the usage of the thematic bracket in this new, you say, new way of writing, right?
Well, it's not, to me, it's not so new.
Yeah, but Charlotte, yes,
it's
it's
new
new
in the
to
lamentation.
Let's see what he
Yes.
has to say.
Yeah, go on.
No, but
Good.
and then with the scatter, it's already clear to me as I read. Okay, I'm using my arms, and then the theme or the intent of scattering, as opposed to just moving the arms in space. It's clear, but can I? What's not clear to me is the specificity of what Mira was intent. Scatter with the, so it's
With the leading.
The leading by
led
Yes.
by
Leading by the
part of
hiding.
this part of the
Right.
it may show up as you observe somebody doing it. You may say, oh, that movement is led by this part of the arm, and that's the important thing. You may, as an observer, but the dancer himself may be thinking, this is important to scatter, and that's the thing that you want to get across by this.
And that's what I see from my elementary level. Okay, it leaves some room for how do you want to scatter. You want to scatter initiated by the
shoulder. You can have
But at the same,
led
the
by the
general
side.
picture, it's still about scattering
Right.
and gathering.
Exactly.
And you can write it in so many ways with so much detail. One of the things when you become a notator is you realize you pare down what is essential. You're writing in a way, you want to write in a way that gives the dance. Not every little detail of how you do a grand plie is bend the knee 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees. That is not important.
Rather, the flip side of the coin is if you're following the rule of the love notation, there's no, what's called this, at least what I got it from what I heard, there's no rule of, is this, which body part? So everyone can, so where is there now the rule, and it's just really, it appeared to me as a little bit opposing.
Why don't you just do this?
Then, okay.
You can put body parts in.
And
Say that column is only for the arm.
Or what if I
Or
do this?
it's for the whole body.
Or what if I
Or
say
you do
this?
what I put a
Or here's another
a connection.
option.
What is that?
That's a sign for the
The
whole
whole
body.
body.
I mean, it's not that
That's
it's,
motif.
well,
Yes,
why
it is.
not use
Sure.
it in lava
Sure,
notation?
you could use it.
Oh, I mean,
But or you
Why
or
not?
one could assume that everything in the bracket is the whole body. Unless
Without it, it's already made
unless
you made
otherwise
the whole body.
specified.
Unless otherwise specified.
Yeah.
But right, I mean, these
Because it is a mental thing. It is not my arm does this. It is the mental picture for the whole of the person. It's not
these issues that you're bringing up, these are things, I mean, this introduction of this bracket, obviously when you put into lava notation score, it's good because the rules are different. You're going to have to come up with other ways of how to integrate into lava notation score as opposed to motif notations, because motif notation is its own set of rules. So you're bringing up the issues that need to be discussed further to make this be workable in lava notation. And Lynn is beginning the process as I see it.
I'm introducing it to people who are going to, like Mira, go, why do we need this? And May going, you know, which is often what happens when you start out.
It's like a lot of times, like you have studied lava notation, a lot of information and a lot of symbols with. So when we make the new, people
Are going to initially react.
that's their
Resistance.
resist. Like instead of keep making new like symbols for every single like a specific purpose, then it's going to be like millions of symbols we need to make.
Yeah.
So like that's why we need to think.
Right.
We
Very
really
carefully.
need
That's
what
absolutely.
we have already, or we can work with what we have.
Can we
That's
find a
why
way
that's
to
where I
combine it?
wanted to start.
Me
Like,
too.
we even say like the whole body. I mean, without it, we already meant the whole body.
Right,
Well,
right.
Or-
do we really need to learn
Right.
the new symbol?
Or maybe
I think that's why also, and I want your input. That's why I also started with the movement as opposed to starting with the bracket. I wanted people to experience movement in the same physical, literal movement in different ways, but have it as a different thought process.
So maybe like you are going to present this at the ECOL. As you said, there will be a lot of other people who are not like advanced.
Right.
So I'm thinking is that maybe you can start with the definition of this, how this is used. The definition, how
Once
this is
once I get back
one-
to brackets, yes.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
why these
Include
don't
that.
imply. That's why we
Absolutely.
Right.
like go through it instead of
Step by step.
introducing the new first,
Right.
and then people go,
That's it.
"What about this? We already."
That's a good
that
idea.
is kind of reversing it and
Yes.
a little
Very good
cause
idea.
confusion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So explain
Yeah.
people using this for why we can use this,
Right.
why it doesn't work, because then that's why we need the new bracket. Then
Right, that
maybe
makes sense.
people, we also need to educate some people there, not really LM people.
Speaking
Yeah.
of which, Tina, did you?
Me?
Go ahead.
Can I follow
Yeah.
Mira's rule? Because like when I was saying why can you use additional bracket, and Lynn explained very clearly because it distribute evenly. Then when you having people doing the examples, then ask them to do that.
Every single thing, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a great
That's
idea.
a good idea.
Yeah,
And how difficult it is to be thinking
Right.
that way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tina, you have not had any effort background.
I have
mean-
tiny bit in 40 years ago.
So I'm curious, well, you probably, presumably.
And I remember it clearly. That a woman who was teaching it, she did it with punch and slash, and float and glide and
Full efforts.
full efforts. Yeah.
Right,
But
that's
that was what it was.
and it's a very different way, or excuse the word, I shouldn't say antiquated, but it is. Thinking about
But she remembers.
But
I
but
do,
but
I do.
but what I would be curious about is then, so you do have some background, but your how was it for you as information for the presentation? Was it confusing to you, or was it not
No,
confusing?
no, it was
When
not
you went through
confusing.
these things, you say, oh, indirect, oh, like, or
Not-
did it
not-
resonate right
not at all,
away?
Not at all. Thank you.
Yay. So that's very good for you to know as
Mhm.
you present.
Great.
It may also be, though, I'm just guessing, see, because I know what would happen to me in this presentation if I wasn't a psych, that just like you have a certain sense of what the different words are that you use because of when you studied and who you study with, and you do, and I do, we have, because of the different eras and because of the different teachers and so forth and so on, you may find that people are gonna, for example, there are going to be people there who have studied with Peggy Hackney, and they're going to object as opposed to study in New York, and they're going to possibly object and say, what do you mean carving? It's got to be shaping. And just be forewarned, and you may already know this, that the different camps and the different eras and the different teachers, just like we have in the lava notation
Carving is different
community.
than shaping.
Well,
What?
it's a different terminology used for the same kind of concept.
But the concept is slightly different to me. Carving.
Well,
There's
the words and connected with the idea and the symbols, there's been no end of, it's one of the major discussions.
And
So when you bring
some
together
with
these
anger.
community of people from the, and that is very exciting and illuminating, but at the same time, you should know ahead of time, it may happen.
Yes.
And as I said, lamentation people,
Oh, yeah,
when
right.
you,
First answer.
when you perform it, you kind of, your
I love
demonstration
her.
was
I
really,
did.
really about guided by the surface.
Right.
It's, but when you say even non-LM people, fingertips is right here. So
Yeah.
you really meant the fingertips, or when you really meant they guided by,
Yeah.
because the led by is by the parts, the elbow, fingertips, and like wrist led by. But then this part is the surface. So like I mean, because the when you say fingertips, it's like, do you really mean? That's fine if you really meant that. Or you
Because
really
I did
meant
want to carve, and I wanted
Oh,
to,
okay.
I wanted
Okay.
to get the difference between led by and carving, just
Okay.
in how you feel about it.
Okay.
So I didn't want to write every little detail, but
Okay.
You
You know,
can
of
be
how you-
specific as to what part of the hand. Because if you do it with just the edge of the hand, it's this way. But if you do it with the whole,
I think that
with this
there's a
understood
there is a
better,
displacement. There is
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. Okay,
displacement.
now I
But I should have
understand.
said something more about, yes,
Okay.
there will be a
Okay, okay.
displacement. I'm not writing that displacement, but I'm writing led
You
by.
really meant
I
the
really
fingertip.
mean, yeah.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
fingertips,
okay.
so that I could
Okay.
get that feeling
Of
of
the
whether you're
carving.
carve or you're going to just be led by the fingertips.
Molding.
Right.
There's molding.
Is there
Okay.
a feeling of carving it around, or is
Okay.
there a feeling just that your fingertips are?
As opposed
The
to
leaders.
just doing something
Or is
in
the
which
energy
you're just
going
moving
out
your joints.
as you do it, or is it ending
It's
at the
from
fingertips?
it's thinking of like little light bulbs in your tips of your fingers that lead the way. You know.
Which is different from the energy going all the way out.
Yes.
Beyond the fingertips.
Yes.
What you may be alluding to, which is another area of confusion, especially when you start to notate, because there's been no end of discussions that are now archived on the Theory Bulletin Board about, if you're with LMA people, leading as opposed to initiating. And when you did your example earlier, and you were saying, I am doing this movement, and it looked to me like you were thinking about the impetus of the movement, which is initiation. So these words, led by, guiding, and initiation, we even have different symbols for them, but in my mind, clarifying, especially when you start putting initiation in there. Even in our community, the lava notation community, it's not, to me, always clear that everybody's on the same page about what those means. Maybe it's another theory meeting. I don't know. Am I right, or is it that I don't understand and there is clarity?
No, I think it is part of the LM people don't have enough those type of training. That's why it's
Right.
kind of, you
No,
know.
we do, but
lava
we do
notation
put part
with
leading in symbols
Yes, part
and
leading,
guiding,
yeah, but then
and
that's very,
initiation, you see.
Yeah, but that's
it's
very
another-
But
specific,
I
yeah.
think there's also confusion about strength and heaviness that has
Oh.
always been there. And that's why I
Definitely.
wanted to clarify the two things to get, do one then the other. Because I that often is
There's a whole,
confused.
we just had a theory vote, a big discussion on the listservs that was, again, I archived, about the difference between heavy and strong.
yeah.
So,
So in terms of
yeah.
this, while I'm looking through the monitor, actually people are doing similar things, even though you're saying it could be light or sharp or quick. And so what I would suggest you is actually have something very different. You know, like one and lightness and heaviness. That's very easy differentiate. But then meanwhile, or heaviness, right? And then but meanwhile you start going to
Strength.
like a
it's
strong.
direct and the strength, like if you do one after the other, it's really hard to see the contrast.
Yeah, and so I think for your purpose, because you want to say the thematic ball, then the quality, the effort quality, you can like just pick a few.
A couple,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Maybe the
suggestion.
weight.
I have a good idea. Like
Wait
we
time.
you only taught us the triplet, and then we did all the thematic thing only with the triplet.
know.
It was really hard to perform. Maybe learn triplet and arm first, and then we go there and try to do lightness and heaviness, so that we can have a
More
you could see
body.
more, because we're not like really
Yeah,
using
maybe-
upper body arms and only triplet and try
Right,
to
it's hard to
express
do.
everything.
Yes.
It was a little harder to like even I
Yes.
was too like, am I sure enough the difference? Like I was kind of wondering. So
Well,
if we can have arm people, we go there. Then with upper body, then
Or
we can
just
have
walking.
more-
It's just walking. With
Just
the-
walking.
There's a triplet already. You're indicating up or down.
It's kind of hard to-
confusing.
Yeah, but
You were
the
thinking
point is
either
define
simpler
movement that
or
really.
Yeah, if you allow people just the walking, but then put their own levels.
Yeah.
You know, like it just blank with forward, but then they can do whatever
Light
level they
with
want.
intensity,
So they will
heavy
be,
with
you know,
intensity.
always on the up or up down, something like that. So the people can have freedom to play with.
On the other hand, I can see certainly doing that if I was going to introduce the idea of the themat or of this concept in the context of a motif notation score. But the challenge is to find a lava notation score. And when we, you know, I mean, how, because then you're
That's
always
why-
not going to
that's
come
why-
up with
Also, I just wanted to mention,
these.
you know, if you allow people the ability to take steps in any level and all of that, you don't necessarily gut across the point. People are likely to choose the affinity. For example, if you are light, they will go up on their toes and they will be in high level
Right.
and they will choose that. The challenge is
Good.
to show them that it's a theme. Okay, you're going to take steps downward, but that's okay. Those steps don't necessarily have to be light. The theme is light. It isn't this bracket with every single thing light. It's about the whole series of things. The emphasis and thought pattern is light.
Yeah, but then I agree with Mira. When I'm seeing it, it's down, up, it's really hard.
My suggestion is like you guys wanna apply this new idea into a lens system.
You're also
Right.
saying
That's why I'm saying instead of just teaching only triplet, just teach the everything, like upper body and arm,
And
then
use
let us,
that initially.
Yeah, and then-
to begin with.
and then let us
or do it with a
perform-
swing, maybe. Some say it's important
Swing
to get.
has the precaution.
Oh, that's
is the,
true.
you
But
know.
just maybe before Echo, you might want to try out whatever it is you're going to do in terms of the lava notation. You know, grab one of us or grab a couple of us and see if when we're doing the movement that you've notated, if that's the movement that will work for getting across. Maybe, as you say, maybe change it so that we are doing, you know, make sure the movement that you're using gets across. I don't know, you know, when I was watching people a little bit out of the corner of my eye, the effort that they were using looked very different. I mean, it just out of the corner of my eye, and sometimes you don't see that in a camera. I don't know. It may be watching each other too. The people watching each other. might
Yeah,
be of
so
use.
Yeah.
then you have a group of people doing, yeah, because it will help them to visualize the,
Right. See that
right,
there's
see
there's
the
a
other people
difference.
doing it. That's a
Right.
good point.
yeah.
Then they'll see, oh my goodness, or they'll see.
And maybe
wow,
you
yeah.
shouldn't demonstrate. You
Oh,
should
I
just
really?
Yeah, because she is the person who trying to convey the idea. Meanwhile, so she
trying to
observe
imitate.
people.
But if
doing
she's
it.
watching, well, I see what you're saying, but if you're trying to teach people who don't know anything about effort, in order to get them to do this movement, the way that the reason that we got it is because Lynn was so good at showing
But
in her own
but
body.
while she was explaining the nihilist, she already showing you the movement quality. So
Right.
that's why I'm saying while she explained, what's the lie, the strength, whatever,
Okay.
you already using your body to demonstrate the effort. But when you do the cross, then you observe.
them-
Yeah.
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 So Lynn, it's 11:30 now, but if people don't mind another 5 minutes, is there anything more in 5 minutes you need from us?
No, I mean, if you have any more comments, I'd appreciate it. Anything else? I think people have given some good comments.
I wonder if not adding the body, but just adding simple arm movement.
No, I think
Strength.
the body is good. I mean, yeah, that's part of the likeness. I mean, it's subtle. It doesn't have to be. The hardest thing is the down, up, up. It's the triplet part of it. Because that, you probably wouldn't choose that in certain effort shapes.
Well, the triplet,
Can
but
I
if
erase this or not?
if you want, sure.
No, I think I pretty much have. Why?
Can I just wanna
No,
suggestion
Or can you put on the small board on the side?
I don't know if it may be too much my suggestion because it's mainly it's because my need because you explained that like for me it was more the idea, right? So maybe when you say heavy, so you
Heavy is with the circle on the bottom. That's saying, yes, that's right. And then just put,
I know. I want to be closer. But even that,
not touching. And not touching.
Not to the circle doesn't touch it. The bottom. Thing.
so you're. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but this means you kind of try. What you're trying to say is this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's what she meant.
Yeah. So this, or the new, but both are. But this is just a new idea, right? That's the thematic idea.
Right.
So maybe let them try to perform this, and this is the entire theme is the heaviness. Try to do this and try to do this.
Yeah.
And so then there is we see the need for this.
Right.
Because there-
Yeah,
because-
yeah.
So
Right.
then
Mm-hmm.
people even have better understanding of
Interesting.
why we need.
Sure.
Right.
You may don't see the difference as you said, but in your mind when you perform it, that I don't know if it's a better way to.
I mean, it's another
Explain it that
way
way.
of
Sure.
thinking about it. Yeah. Of clarifying the difference. Yeah. Might be interesting for your research also to go and look at some scores in C and D. Back to your issue. How are through the different scores and eras have effort been put into different bows, or how it's being indicated, has been indicated.
I think it's great.
But then when you are using let's say like whole body or arm, should it be inside of thematic ball?
I think that's how I've been using with the addition bracket. We used inside the.
Well, here again,
Unless this is-
and there are many different possibilities. I mean, because we're finishing, but there's, for example,
like
these.
that. This is
There's
how
a
it-
difference. There's a difference between saying that. Oh God. There are two different meanings and I don't want to get into the whole because we'll start a whole other discussion. But in the way that I am using it and developed it and put it in my book, there's a difference between putting the arm before the bracket would mean that
Timing issue.
all of this movement that I'm talking about inside of the bracket must be done by the arm.
Right.
If I put it in the bracket, then I'm saying that sometime during the course of it there is arm scattering, but there might be, the arm might also be doing other kinds of movement during the course of this thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
I mean, it's
that.
I'd have to get into the whole thing,
Oh, sorry.
but here again, there are two different needs, and you can
Okay, for
find ways
this,
of
you're
indicating
saying,
them.
okay, we like that this is a thematic bracket. Okay.
Right.
So you can write below it because there's a timing issue unless you put double.
Yes.
No, why
Right,
would
yes,
you?
it is
Other-
included in the
yeah.
timing.
It's
Is it
it's
a
like
timing
any
issue?
pre-time.
Right.
Right.
Then
it's
Yes.
like
we
any
need to put the
pre-time.
so
Yes.
you agree with either
Yes.
this
No, yes.
for like
Or-
gather, scatter, or this. I mean,
Or-
like these are the ideas.
Make it a little
If you put
smaller
it
and
inside, is meaning that this.
Or you can have
Or-
you can move it up. Yeah.
I mean, what you're
On your
see, you
plate.
just, oops, if you make it
Shorter.
Shorter,
like
and including
this,
the arm.
Right, just like any
This is
pre-sign, Mira.
equal.
Hmm.
Any pre-sign is included in the time value of the sign that it modifies.
So these are the three.
It's a pre-sign, and the timing begins to below the pre-sign. It doesn't start where the bracket.
yeah.
Just
So
like
you
that.
don't need
Those are
that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
need the
Unless you, in
There's a
certain
space
circumstances,
issue.
space issue you might, but
You
Oh, I
always have
see. If there
space
was
issues.
but that's always going to be true whenever
Yes.
you have a sign that has
a pre-sign.
But do you see? Do you want to go on
Do you
now?
need a
and-
ball? No.
That's very specific. I think that's kind of setting up,
Again, this to be continued, because these, to me, what I take away from this is if we begin to think that the thematic bracket has some use in lava notation, it's the beginning, because there are many other issues that need to be clarified about how we get more specific or allow our, what is the default meaning of it, so forth and so on, and we can continue with it, and maybe you're going to find other things that come up at ICL. So
Sure.
I think we do need to stop because we have some other meetings that we
Yes.
need to do. But Lynn, I
Thank
think
you.
this is going to be